Coaches across the country used the Coachpad this past season to be more efficient with their scout card prep on the weekends as well as when out on the practice field working with their scout teams. Whether you're a coach using a computer program to create cards or drawing them by hand, the Coachpad is for you. Never printing paper or stuffing a binder, clearly seeing scout cards outdoors in the bright sun, and using the coach pad on game days, syncing diagrams from the press box to the sideline were some of the features coaches enjoyed this season. This offseason, get your coach pad at thecoachpad.com to get your program ready for next season. Thecoachpad.com.
Welcome back to another episode of the Gap Down Backer podcast. Today we have the assistant football coach at Delhi Charter School in Louisiana, Coach Storm Ridgway. Coach, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Get ready for Christmas break.
Good. Well, like I said, you guys haven't started yet. We've already started, but yours is it's that weird Christmas is on a Monday and it sucks. And yeah. But I mean, let's start with the simple question: is how did you end up at Delhi?
Let me see here. I came here 4 years ago. I was a head coach at a school in the area, and there was some administrative issues, and I literally coached a season by myself with no assistants. It was me and a bus driver. and there wasn't much change going on, and the head coach here at Delhi Charter, he and I grew up together, we had a head baseball opening, and he asked me if I wanted it. I took it, and I came on late. I came in like in July of 2020, and so right in the middle of the pandemic, and came on and came in as an offensive line coach, been the head baseball coach. And then the COVID season was really tough for us. We only played like 6 games. Every time we turned around, we had kids tested positive, and we were having a quarantine, and it was a mess. And we went 0-6 and scored 1 offensive touchdown in those 6 games. And we were primarily a spread team, and at that time, and at the end of the season, the head coach came to me and asked me if I would take over the offense. And the previous offense coordinator, I mean, it wasn't like it was like I'm firing him. The previous offense coordinator took it because nobody else would at that time, because I came on so late, and he took it under like a 1-year deal. And he's our defense coordinator now, and great coach, good friend. And so I took over the offense, and he said, what do you want to run? Because I got a spread background, and my head coach in high school, I'm talking like 96, 97 now. He's running the spread in the late 90s. It's him and Evangel Christian are like the only 2 in North Louisiana in the shotgun, 4 wide, no tight end, no fullback. And he's one of the only ones. So that being said, I graduated in 08 and played for him. And so I was born in the spread. When I started coaching, he brought me on as a student coach, and I was down at the junior high peon for a little while, and I was running the high school offense, and then worked my way up through the high school, and eventually I got a coordinator job at a very young age. I was right out of high school, right out of college, and got a coordinator job. Didn't know what I was doing. I thought I did. And man, I'm sitting there like, man, we're rocking and rolling, brother, and learned a lot. And so the spread is pretty much everything I knew. I kind of I was at some of the bigger schools in our area, and of course spread. Now it's wing T principles, a lot of power counter, but we were spread, man. And so when he turned over the reins to me, and he said, "What do you want to run?" And I said, "Well, let's do some evaluation of our talent or whatever." And he said, "I figured you'd want to run spread." I said, "No." I said, I love it, but I know that that doesn't fit our personnel. Year in, year out. And I said, I want to get under center. I want to be efficient, and point, blank. What we were talking about is we were getting tired of, because the 06 season, the 0-6 2020 was an anomaly. we're normally up to this point, previous 4 or 5 years had been a 500-ish level program. We were winning the games we were supposed to win and losing the games we weren't supposed to win. And we were kind of getting tired of it. And we wanted to be able to step up in competition and beat teams, that we on paper shouldn't have beat. And so I wanted to get back to an under center offense because they're very efficient. And I'm going to be honest with you. And I say this, and if somebody takes offense to it, it is what it is. But the modern day kid is soft. And linebacker play in today's world ain't nothing. They don't want to stick their nose in between the tackles. Not 85 times. They want to drop back in coverage, and we live in a 7-on-7 society. And what I've learned, some of the best defensive coaches in our area are DBs coaches, because they have to be because of the throw it around the yard. And they're good at scheming you up in that aspect, but we started really, can they scheme us up from a box standpoint? If we bring in 2 tight ends and go unbalanced, how are they going to defend us? And so we really kind of want to challenge the status quo of it. We felt like we'd have an advantage with that because we do have blue collar kids. We're down here in the Mississippi Delta, and our kids are, they're on the deer stand, or their dads are out in the oil rig, and they're working on the farm. We're a blue collar community, and so we just said let's get under center, let's get nasty, and let's buy into that. And it always seemed like we always have one or two really good like tailbacks, like running back type kids. We have the bigger now we're fixing to hit a slew of some smaller kids, but we've had the bigger O-line. They can't pass that very well, but they can drive and drive off and hit you in the mouth and pump their feet and double team you. And we have tight ends, which is what makes split back go, in my opinion. And so we got down to the fundamentals here. We want to run under center. We want to run as an option. We kind of come down to Delaware wing T, or split back, or I, or flex bone. And we didn't like the I because didn't like putting a guy at 9 yards deep. And, our O-line is not that good. And so we kind of threw that off the table. And then wing T, we wanted to be more Veer based, more option. So that just kind of takes, kind of took wing T off the table. So now we're sitting there with flex bone and split back. And what I learned in my study and talking to other coaches and whatnot is that flex bone is very coaching intensive. As far as I feel like you got to have an O-line coach, you got to have a quarterbacks coach, you got to have a fullbacks coach, you got to have a wingbacks coach, and you got to have a wide receivers coach. And so we felt like we're kind of light in staff. Somebody's going to get neglected in a way. And then the wingback, to me, is a very unique kid. He has to be able to run like a running back, catch like a receiver, and block like a fullback. And now you got to have 2 of them, and then you got to have at least one more to back them up. And we just didn't feel like we had one of those kids, much less 3 or 4 of them. And so we evaluated what we had. We had linemen, we had tight ends, and we had a couple running backs, and we had a quarterback at the time was a really good athlete. He would be like a slot receiver in a spread type situation. And we, so that's what we settled on, split back, and this is where we're at, man. 3 years later, man, we have scored some points. We have won some games that we're not supposed to win. We have competed in ball games that we shouldn't have competed in. And we've dominated the games we're supposed to win. And, I can give you all the numbers in the world. I think last year we scored over 500 points, won the first district championship in, I think, 14 years here at the school, and won a playoff game first time in 7 years, and went 9-1. Lost to in the regular season. We lost to the eventual state semifinalists, and had our chances against them. I was talking about that game last night. As a matter of fact, and where does success come from? What comes from the kids on the field. But I feel like split back fits our kids. And what I do like about it is, even if it doesn't fit your kids, it still fits, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think anybody can play in it. Talking about the eye, we're going to kind of look at, we've got a running back that is getting some interest from D1 schools, and we're sitting there like, well, put him in the eye a little bit. So we can mold it. We can put him in the eye and do some things. We're still a split back program, but we put him in the eye to run power and counter. But when I promise you, when it gets down to it, game's on the line, we're going to be in split back. And so it allows you flexibility with personnel, because I think anybody can play in it. Now there are some kids it's don't get me wrong, man, it's suited for. Like, we had a cat this year. He's a senior. I hate to see him graduate. He's got an offer from an NEI school, and I've got some clips of him. I'll show him here a bit later. And you talking about a dive back? He's a running back. He was fast as lightning, but he was a great dive back. Like, he really could hit that line of scrimmage fast. He could follow his blocks and veer through the open lanes and just get an open field, man. He actually, in our playoff game, our second round playoff game, he went for almost 200 and broke the career rushing record here at the school. He went for 1,900 and some change this year, and he went for 1,700 and some change last year. And then his freshman year was the COVID season. And then the sophomore year, I think he went for like 600-700, but he was really like as far as the depth chart goes, he was like the third or fourth back. He was kind of banged up and he was young. But ththese past 2 years, man, he has done a phenomenal job of diving. And he can run other things, but he was a great dive back. So, but that's our story, man, of where we're at. Is there room for growth? Yes. And I'm just going to preface this whole conversation. We're not a world-beating program. State championship goals, they're there, but we're still trying to get out of the second round as a program. And last year, we thought we had a chance, but we weren't ready as a program from a culture standpoint. Our kids were happy to win a playoff game, and because they hadn't done it for so long. And second round, we just didn't play very well. And this year, we played in the second round, in my opinion, offensively played better than we did in the first round. But the team we were playing, they were state runner-up last year. And so we just had a tough draw. I think had we played, if we'd been seeded a little bit different, I think we could have got out of the second round. But we still haven't done it yet. And that's what we're working towards. And I feel like we have gotten as far as we can go as far as scheme goes. Now it's just coming together. We got to get better in the weight room and all that stuff. But we're at this conversation, I firmly believe, because of split back. I believe that it gives our program an identity. It gives our kids something to hang their hat on. Our O-line freaking take pride in it, brother. Like, when we're sitting in class, I got my O-lineman, they're sitting there watching huddle in class or whatever, and they're when they're not watching just the ball, when they're watching themselves and understanding what we're trying to accomplish in the whole play, it's beautiful. They've bought into it and they love it. O-linemen love it. Running backs love it. Tight ends love it if they're not, if they're okay with being a sixth lineman with an eligible number. And receivers, here's how I sell it to receivers. And I think as coaches, I know when I was in the spread, my goal was to get my best player the ball in a one-on-one matchup. And I don't think I'm, have a secret. I think it's everybody. So the way I sell it to my receivers is we're not going to have four of you. We're going to have one or two on the field. And we can almost guarantee you're going to have a one-on-one matchup every play with space. They're going to be backing it because all our corners that play us, they play 10 yards and they play the run. They're turned in. They're turned in watching the run, especially the boundary corner. And they ain't worried about the receivers. And so our routes are very basic. We run slants, we run goes, we run comebacks, we run outs. We'll do some two-man concepts too. And that's how I sell it to them. And like, you block. And then, when we get into the obvious passing situations, you're going to have your chance, to go make plays. And like I said, it's not sexy. But another thing it does, usually our two or three receivers are also our two or three corners and safety. So we have that's another thing, it fits us. We have a lot of two-way players, and so we can rest our DBs because we still play spread teams, so we can rest our DBs on offense and whatnot. It just fits us, man. It just really does. I've always said I would, because there's 2 or 3 schools around us that run split back, and I say around us, in our region in North Louisiana, and one of them got to the state semifinals this year, first time in school history, and got beat by a team that ran the I. And they went on to win the state championship. And there's another one north of us, and I'm really good friends with their head coach, and they ran split back, and then but we still have under center programs around here, so it's not completely foreign. And the 1A state champion, the 2A state champion, the 5A state champion split back, and so we still have them. There's just a few far in between. There's a pretty good amount of them down south. Acadiana High School, if you want to study split back, usually when you Google split back, John Curtis comes up, and there's nothing wrong. John Curtis is great, but look at Acadiana. Acadiana runs it. They run it different. John Curtis runs true triple option. They run inside veer, outside veer, cut back, and that's about it. Acadiana, they run double option, which is what we run, and they just get down and they maul you. They're gonna run dive until you stop it. And so Acadiana High School and Karen Crow High School, they're right beside each other, are 2 really good examples. I've got some Karen Crow clips here I can show. And so that's the story of how we ended up at split back, and the success we've had. And what I love about it, again, I keep coming back, it's simple. It challenges the defense of players. A linebacker, he has to fill the hole. And if he misses, he takes one false step to olay a tackle, and the running back's probably gonna pop it. And so you're 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 3 and 4, and all of a sudden you just look up and he's 40 yards downfield, and and then defensively, you have to, from a defensive coordinator scheme standpoint, I think you have to understand what the goal of split back is as far as what we're trying to accomplish, because to a naked eye, it's just like we're just running up the middle, and that's not the case. And so it takes some bit. The defensive coordinators that give me the most fits over the past 3 years are those older gentlemen that coached in the 70s and 80s, and they're this is what they know, and there's a defensive coordinator of a school here, his name St. Fred's, is the older man, and I'm gonna tell you what, man, that dude knows his stuff, and he's been coaching since Bill Yeoman invented this offense, and he's done. He does a great job, man. I look forward to coaching against him every year because he teaches me things. Just I just have to wait. Friday night after the game, after I'm watching film, I'm like, man, I've never seen anybody do that to us. How we're going to answer that? And so it makes me a better coach, but whatnot. So, but
well, I think you just got the second longest intro to a podcast ever. So. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I told you beforehand, like you're now second to Hal Mummy, so congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a good person.
Mesh.
Yeah. Although he started with like a 15-minute story. Like, I mean, he just like, I don't like, I say this all the time. I've asked for the background of, I think, every guest on here, but Hal Mummy. I don't think I really need to ask for the background of Hal Mummy. I just like if you know football, you know who that man is.
Right.
Like, and he's walking around his house while he does it too. That's the best part. He ends up laying in his bed. It's great. Like I love Hal. But I mean, you mentioned there that you don't just run inside and outside veer. Like, I mean, again, I've watched a little bit of JT Curtis film, and obviously I've watched, I don't know what poor little school they were playing, but they were just running inside veer up and down the field. So with that, what I mean, and we talked a little bit about this, what is the kind of philosophy of how you run split back veer?
All right, so everything we run predicates off of outside veer, because if you're not going to run outside veer, then maybe you should run flex bone, because flex bone is predicated off midline and inside veer, as opposed to, well, it's more inside veer to midline. Split back is outside veer to inside veer. Now you could run some midline-ish type stuff, but the angles of it don't really line up great. So you have to decide what you want. If you want to run split back, you're going to learn outside veer is your cheat code. That's your go-to play. And so everything we do builds around outside veer. So what we try to do is chase the gaps. And so like if you're giving us, if we have an open B, we're going to run inside veer. And if we have an open C, we're going to run outside veer. Then you're going to stop dive eventually. If you're any good, you're going to stop it. Okay. Well, when you stop it, you're giving us something. Now, can we execute it? That's on us at that point. But you're giving us something, and we just have to figure out what that something is, whether it be pitch, whether it be quarterback keeper, whether it be counter, whether it be G lead, throw the ball. And so there you have to figure out kind of what they're giving you. And so what we look at is, being a spread person, I still try to take a spread mindset. We run a lot of formations, and I know people are like, you run split back. It's amazing what you can do out of split back with the line, how many different unbalanced looks you can run. You can run, we run 4 different unbalanced looks. What you can do with your receivers to give them a blocking advantage on outside run plays. And, and so I love the formation background. We're going to run as many formations we can just to run the same plays. And then we like to run the old, I call it buck sweep, but it's not like the wing tee buck sweep. It's not Kenny Simpson, which is great stuff. I mean, Kenny Simpson does phenomenal stuff. And we run kind of the Vince Lombardi Packer power sweep. That's kind of what it is. And so we run that to string the linebackers out, because if the linebackers are stop and dive, that's usually who stops dive. It's not your D line. It's if your D line is stopping, if you're playing a D line that's stopping dive, you're in trouble. There's an extreme mismatch going on somewhere. D linemen don't worry me. It's when we play really good linebackers that worry me. And so if they're tight in that box trying to stop dive, then you can either throw something behind them, or you can run outside. And so we got the little buck sweep play. We've got the traditional little quick twirls, strong and weak. And so there's just some things that we do to try to loosen up those backers. And so that's where but it all starts at outside veer. And if you don't stop outside veer, then we're going to run it until I'm tired of watching them run outside veer. And then I'm like, let's practice something else. Let's get something else on film. And that's just kind of, that's what we do. And that's where it all starts. Again, outside veer. So
what do you like? What is your typical install plan out of this look? Like, obviously there's several things here. What is kind of your process for teaching this to your kids?
We start with dives. So we start with inside veer and outside veer. And then after that, so we'll rep inside veer, outside veer, dive, and option. The option phase of it, we'll rep that day one. And that's all we run. And we'll run it with multiple formations. Because the thing about outside veer is you can only run it to the tight end. That's just the tight end has to block through the C gap. And so if the defense is giving us a front where we can't run inside veer weak to give us some balance, then we'll go 2 tight ends. And so we rep 2 tight end outside veer. We'll rep 2 tight end inside veer, 1 tight end, just all of our basic little stuff to run inside and outside veer and run option. I usually bring in lead option because that is, it's blocked like inside and outside veer. It is ran in the backfield like inside and outside veer, except for there's really no mesh. And so it's a cheap play to just run to break up the monotony of it. And then so that's how we install that. Then Then from there, I try to inside and outside veer with the option phase and then lead option. Then from there, like day 2, we'll start looking at sweep. We'll start installing sweep. And then then we'll go back to our dives. And then there's a couple of nuances off sweep that you just kind of incorporate. Like we have a little running back pass off sweep. We have boot off sweep. And then so that would be day 2. So then day 3, that's when we start getting into counter. I love counter, and we run counter 2 different ways. As far as the backfield, it's the same up front, down kick and wrap with your tackle. It's true GT. We run an X in the backfield, and then we run where the play side back runs, he fakes toss. And so if the defensive end we're not very good log blockers, we're not very good at it. And that's probably my fault. So I also coach the O-line, so it's probably my fault. But if we got a defensive end that's really squeezing down, then we'll just run outside of him. And so if we got him in limbo, then we can run fake toss with the play side back and then be able to run counter underneath him. So it's the same concept as running like a jet sweep, and run counter underneath. And so that's kind of it. And then of course, we our passing plays and then really like G lead. And you can install this entire offense in 3 days, 3 or 4 days. No question asked. I think the biggest thing with me year 1 when I was installing this is I tried to do everything you could possibly do out of a split bag. We were doing it. And I'm not gonna say the first week of install was a waste of time because I learned and our kids learned, but we kind of had to figure out what we're good at. And it's funny, year to year it changes. Last year we were a phenomenal toss team. Like we were almost undefeated on toss. It seemed like the year before we were a really good sweep team. Last year we weren't really good, neither one of them. And we could run it enough, to accomplish what we want to accomplish, but we became a good G lead team like this past season. So it just varies, from year to year. And I don't know what the difference was because I had almost the same O-line from last season to this season. And but that's the basic install plan. Don't get too fancy with it, because I firmly believe, and you can write this down, and I'll die on the hill, is that if the mesh is clean and the running back hits the hard, the O-line can block nobody, and he should still get 2.5 yards. They can block literally no one. So if you get a hat on a hat, you should get 3.5. And then from there, you got to deal with your linebackers. So it's just a matter of, what are they doing to you as far as that. But that's our basic install plan, man. Outside veer, inside veer, lead option, sweep, toss, G lead, and counter.
Okay,
and
so
trap.
To continue with that, because I podcast and I do research and all that lovely jazz. There's some small little nuanced differences that I'm just curious about. Along with that is, what are your typical splits, and then what are the alignment of your 2 backs?
Okay, so every year, whether we got the same O-line come back or a new O-line or whatever, every year we start out with 2 foot splits. Everybody's 2 foot. And then we get comfortable. We do that up until week 1. So camp, scrimmage, jam. And then going into week 1, I will allow the backside to adjust their splits based off what we're running and how the defense is lined up. So if they need to tighten and the rules are very simple. If you have an open gap to your play side, you widen out. If you have a closed gap, you have a player in that gap, you tighten it down to about 1 foot split because we're cutting it. And so we widen out if there's nobody there to to move the edge out a little bit further, and then to give them a little bit more room to work with to get up to that next level on the backside scoop. And so and then once, so that's the backside, and then we just slowly adjust. I had a couple of seniors this year that to be honest with you, I didn't even have to coach them. They knew what they were doing, and all I had to do was keep them humble and honest in the film session, because they knew what they were doing. It's just a matter of if they're going to be lazy or not. And so I let them adjust how they wanted to adjust. And we put our one thing we did this year that we tried and I didn't like it, so we got out of it, is we went into a recessed line of scrimmage. So we put the helmets of the guard and tackle on the center's hip, and really went like Georgia Tech Paul Johnson, and didn't work for us because at the D line we were giving the D linemen too much room. So it was hard to cut them, and it was hard. Then they could, because we play some D linemen, they'll just play at the line of scrimmage, and they'll just, they'll swim us right there, and we'll whiff. And so we went back to crowding the line of scrimmage, and so that's what we do. We crowd that thing, man. I tell my guards is that if you get flagged for being offsides once, that's okay. That's how tight we're trying to get to the line of scrimmage, and so. But like I said, and my quarterback didn't like it either. My quarterback didn't like being recessed because he's actually in the line of scrimmage. Like the linemen are almost further back than he is. So he didn't really like it because it messed with when he was meshing. He said it just messed with his eyes, and he'd been in a JV court. He'd been our JV quarterback previous 2 years. And so I said, all right, man, and we tightened them back up anyway. So it just kind of worked out. As far as our backs, man, it varies. And I've been saying for a couple years now, we're going to measure this out. But what we do is because the only stable thing is the quarterback, because the guards, they move, based on play. So what we do is their heels are at 4 yards. And if we're running inside veer dive, their heels are actually about 3.5. And their inside feet are approximately in line with the quarterback's foot in front of them. So you're trying to create that little triangle there. And so they can adjust. They have adjustment, in or out, up or down based on play. I don't try to overcoach the athlete. Now our younger kids are, our JV, they're locked in. Because they're slow, so we put them there at 3 yards. And our playbook for JV is very, it's dive. We run dive option and toss, and then tight end dump, stuff like that. So it's a very, very small playbook. And so they get it. I put them at 3 yards so that they can really slam into the line of scrimmage on dive, because our JVO linemen, they're not quite ready to move defense linemen yet. So it's more of a stalemate pillow fight going on up there. And so we get them a little bit closer so that they can hit it before the linebackers get downhill. And so, but that's based on my suggestion would be, if you have more fullback type bodies running split back, I would get them a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. And then if you've got more, you got a couple dudes back there, then work them back a little bit and give them space to work with. So that would be my suggestion on that. And the same thing with the O-line. If you got athletic O-linemen, I like being recessed because it allows them to get to the second level so much better. But if they're not super athletic, which we don't have, not this year anyway, they're just more big bodies that get in the way, then I would crowd the line of scrimmage. We put our center in a 4-point stance. I don't know if that makes a huge difference or not, but I just like the way it looks. So he's in a 4-point stance.
Well, I've actually seen that. Like obviously, like if you go super old school, like you'll see some old school like 70s, 80s linemen. Everybody's in a 4-point stance.
Yeah.
And I was scrolling through Twitter like a month ago, and I showed my center because he's a sophomore. He'll be a junior next year. And I don't remember who it was, but I saw it on Twitter or TikTok, and they had their center in a 4-point stance, and it was just for them to like the reason they switched to it is because it fixed bad shotgun snaps.
Okay.
Like it prevented them from going high, wide, like it pretty much turned them into a short snapper.
Right.
And
I never really thought about it like that.
yeah, and he said, and what I was and I guess a couple schools had gone to it because I think I retweeted or something, and there's a couple guys. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I made that switch like a year ago, and it's like it's fixed all of our shotgun snap issues. It's like, oh, okay.
I never really thought about it. We're gonna try that. Because that's one of our problems is that, man, if you can bounce in and out of gun, like because you can run the same offense from the gun. Now, if you want to get some quarterback run action, like if you got a dude back there and you're like, I want this cat to touch the ball, put him in shotgun, get him in a little 3-yard pistol set or whatever, and because it gives him more room to work with. And so we tinkered with the gun when we always have like a little gun package, but our biggest problem is consistency in the snaps, because we take 95% of our snaps under center. And then our center gets most of his shotgun snap reps during scout team defense, or I'm sorry, first team defense, and we're on a scout team O-line. And that's when he gets his shotgun snaps. And it's severely undercoached, and again, that's my fault. And so, but I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna put him in the 4-point stance because his snaps are high. Like when he misses, it's like one of those 10-foot shotgun snaps. And so I'm gonna keep him in a 4-point stance.
Yeah, literally, it's both hands on the ball, like he's long snapping. And
really, oh, so he's like this.
Yeah, he is full,
okay.
And they snap, and he's good. And then and everybody I saw comment say didn't have too much problem with pass or run protection. Like you would think, with them being a shotgun, a D lineman just gonna swim him or just run right by him if he's not getting any help. And nope, they're just like, hey, yeah, snaps, blocks, no problem. Okay, like. So just I'd have to hunt for because I like so much crap on it to get daily basis on Twitter. I would have to hunt for it.
On Facebook, man. I have to send videos to certain coaches so that I know where they're at when I go look. That's how crazy it is. Like I'm like, okay. Like my assistant baseball coach, who's also our junior high head football coach, he and I have a Facebook inbox conversation. That's one way. It's just videos because we don't talk to each other because we don't want to lose the videos. We send them. So we've created a library so that we know where they're at. Because I'm like, I share and like, and I'm like, man, I saw this drill. I really loved it, but I can't find it. So I get it, man.
Yeah, start sharing some film, Coach, so we can talk from this. I think we could talk like this the rest of the night if we needed to, but
but I kind of before we go to film, there's always somebody that always wants to ask about shotgun split back, and I'm not a big fan of it as your based offense. If you're gonna run split back, you got to marry it, get your butt under center, and get after it. There's nothing wrong with having a shotgun element, but what makes split back so hard to stop is the quickness of the dive, and you lose that in the gun.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to throw that out there before somebody's like, well, shoot, if he says quarterbacks can run, yeah, he can get it. It allows him space to work. But if you get against a slow playing defensive end, he can still make some plays. So I'm going to start with just the playbook aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think that would make the most sense. So our numbering system, I should have said that earlier. Our numbering system is typical 2, 4, 6, 8 to the right, and then 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 to the left. And our right back is the 2 back, and our left back is the 3 back, and our quarterback is the 1 back.
Not rocket science.
I'm not a huge fan of the number system, but that's just what we do, and we just roll with it. I like conceptual stuff, but anyway. So let's look at 26 dives. So that's outside Veer. It's pretty simple, and that's what I was talking about with the open gap. So my tackle will widen this end out, and in result, he widens out the backside backer, and maybe widens out the play side backer. But we're definitely gonna widen that end out, and so he's gonna scoop to the next level. What I teach my linemen, we don't do a great job of executing it, But what I teach them is I want them to basically cut those linebackers.
Yeah.
We're not diving for their ankles. We're just going to torpedo through their hips. And we haven't got flagged for it. Now, we don't do a great job of it, but we haven't got flagged for it yet. And so, and then we have an open, so we have a closed day gap here. So he would tighten down, and then he cuts that one tech. Cutting is non-negotiable. If they don't cut in the game, then they know they got punishment work come Monday. And they still sometimes take the lazy way out and don't cut. But I'll get it back out of them Monday. So we're going to cut and bear crawl to keep people from just falling and laying on them. Open A for the center, so he scoops. This is where it all happens right here. It starts in the B gap. So if we got a B gap player, we're going to double team him. We're not going to combo. I mean, you can combo. If y'all have offensive linemen that can combo, go for it. I don't. And so we're going to double this B. And so whomever he's attached to, I let them make the call. And there's no rhyme or reason to the attachment other than, I mean, if he's a 4-eye, he's obviously attached to the tackle. But if he's kind of in the middle, I let them make a call. And so whomever makes the call, whomever he's attached to, has a straight on drive block. So in his mind, he's blocking that dude one-on-one. And so he's got the post here. Then the one that didn't make the call, he has just a little old down block through his hip, and he shoulder blocks him old school, right through the hip. And we've actually gotten flagged before on high-low doing this. Not a lot, but we have, because like if there's like a height differential sometimes there, my guard will post that 3 tech up, and then my tackle, who wasn't expecting that guy to get kind of stood up like that, he'll come through. He was aiming for his hip, but he ends up hitting him in the knee, and so we'll get up, and it usually happens early in the game. We'll get hit with a high-low. The tight end, he downs the C. And so if he does not touch the first person hit up to outside of him, that is the dive key for outside veer. So he goes right through the C, and he pins the play side backer down inside. And so this is what makes this play go. This is why I love it versus inside veer, because if you're running inside veer to this front, when we flip on inside veer here in a second, your tight end actually releases, and he blocks the player that's responsible for pitch. But if you can't combo, you don't have anybody for the play side backer, and so that becomes a problem. And if he's any good, and if he's not any good, then you're probably going to be highly successful anyway. When you get into your big games and you got some dudes right here, you better get them blocked, or you're going to be getting 2.5, 3 yards of carry. And I know that mathematically adds up to moving the chains, but it stresses me out as a play caller. And if you fall behind on the chains, then you're screwed. And so, yeah, that's how we block outside veer. Up front, so this is what I teach my backs. They chase the double team, and I have a drill that we run where I put a towel, where it's just an inside drill that we run, where there's really no football. I put a towel on the tackle on his butt, and then he chases it, and he cannot do anything until he catches that towel and veer. And once he grabs the towel out of the crack of his butt, he can go be an athlete. But he has to chase and catch that double team. And so this line here is not really indicative of it. Let me see if I can modify that.
That's going to be my next. I mean, obviously quarterback footwork here in a second, but first the back. Was the back's aiming point on your outside veer?
So he is aiming outside veer. He aims. He chases the B and veers through the C. Okay. Let me see if I can draw it better. So he's coming right here to the, if you want to give him a landmark, say inside foot of the tackle. So he's coming right here, but he can't do anything until he catches that double team. So in theory, he's going to catch that double team on the other side of the line of scrimmage. All right. So you're going to create this surge right here. of this wash. Well, see what it does to that linebacker, again, theoretically, is he feels right here, and we're creating this mess. So this defensive end is going to run up. Okay. More times than not, they just run upfield. And all they need to run, if they run up one step, dive's going to pop, as far as getting past him. And so he comes upfield one step, which they all do. He's going to chase that double team, and then he's going to veer right through there. And so you've created a wall right here with your tight end, and then you're getting, so this guy's coming upfield for quarterback or pitch or, whatever he's assigned to. This guy comes up, and then this dude here is kind of in la-la land, which we very rarely ever see this. Usually this guy's like down right here. He's like a fifth linebacker, which is because here's the deal. If we can pop that second level, we're good. So I don't mind a compressed box, but that's it. Quarterback footwork, man. I got some DVDs from Paul Johnson. And what he said made a lot of sense. He said, you don't overcoach his quarterback, whatever he's got to do to get to the mesh. And so he'll take the snap and he opens up. If my quarterback this year, he's a little bit slower, and he's got good speed, but he's not like quick. So he has to, we had to kind of tighten the mesh down a little bit for him, and so that we could ride the mesh, because he's a really good pitcher. Okay, as far as getting the ball out. The quarterback I've had previous to him was an athlete, so we kind of widened out the mesh point so that he can mesh as he's running, and then when he pulls it, he's full head of steam. And I've got some clips of him and our new quarterback, because our one this year, he's a good pitcher, man. He does a good job of riding the dive, pulling it, and then making the defense commit to him so he can pitch. My quarterback previously, he did a good job of pulling dive and going. He just wanted the ball in his hands, and he was good at it, so I let him have it. But that's your track. This dude right here, here's your two biggest coaching points after, once you get everything installed and you feel good about the O-line and the actual mesh, is these two cats have to carry out their fake. The backside back, we don't read it 100% of the time. And so when we call dive, the backside back, sometimes they come out of their stance and watch the play. They don't sell it to pull somebody out. And so that's a major coaching point. They just want to watch the play, and the quarterback, he'll do the same thing. He'll mesh, hand the ball off, and he'll just watch it. And so that's when you get to that point, when you're really hammering those details, you probably are really starting to roll a little bit. But that's just some of the little coaching points that come with it. Receivers, depending on what this guy's doing, and then if there's a true alley player, if there's like an alley player right here, he'll stalk and crack. If there's really nobody here, he'll just kind of stalk. And then, but these guys here, they're usually, if the corners are making tackles, then we're doing really good as far as getting a lot of yardage. So that's just how we handle that. Any questions on the outside view?
No, you pretty much answered everything there.
All right. Let me go back to look at inside veer.
I love how unexcited you are talking about inside veer compared to outside.
Inside veer, I'm gonna be honest with you. We ran inside veer this year better than we've ever ran it, and it's because one of my assistant coaches was like, "Coach, inside veer's there. Run freaking inside veer." And we started running it, and it pops. I love outside veer, man. I love it.
You just sound so unexcited. Outside veer, inside veer.
Yeah. Inside veer. Okay. You want to run inside veer to the open B gap. Not necessarily because of, and you'll see right here what I talked about earlier, is if you have a B gap player, their rule is to double the B. And so you have unless you can combo, you have no one to account for this play side backer. So your dive key, you don't block the first person head up to outside the tackle. Even if your tight end's there on inside veer, you don't block first person head up to outside the tackle. That's your dive key. So if you get a 5 tech right here, all right, and so you get a 5 and a 1, Well, we're going to double the A. Okay. And then we're going to get a free release up to this backer. And it's the same concept. The only difference is that instead of meshing in the B and veering through the C, we're going to mesh in the A-ish, kind of like the inside leg of the guard. And we're going to mesh in the A and veer through the B. Now, we just started that part this year. Up to this point, when we were first installing all this, and I guess I should have answered this better earlier. When we first installed it, the outside veer, we were more meshing more of the outside leg of the tackle and really tacking the C gap. And then we were running inside veer, more of the outside leg of the guard, and really tacking the B. And the reason we started doing that is because not necessarily outside veer. I think outside veer, you can attack the C and be successful. The reason we started doing it here, because this edge is so short right here, especially this little 5-tech, he can hit dive much faster than this 7 right here. And so we kind of had it's actually a JV running back. He hit it in the game one day and it just popped. And I was like, what did he do? And went back and looked at film and he just did wrong and meshed right up. He went to the quarterback, just to go get the ball. And what it is, it created a little bit of room from this defensive end. So we started drilling it that way. And we started just meshing tighter and then getting across the line of scrimmage and veering to getting, so this guy here would kind of run upfield a little bit more. And so, yeah, we, that's inside veer. The same rules apply as far as your backfield goes. Your quarterback, if it's meshing a little bit tighter, he doesn't really have a lot of footwork. He just turns. Just don't overcomplicate with your quarterback. Let him be comfortable, because we run 3 different quarterbacks in our program right now, and all 3 of them do it differently, and all 3 were fine.
So inside veer is more attacking the inside leg of the guard. So it's essentially attack A, veer B.
Attack A, veer B. Outside veer is attack B, veer C.
How different are the blocking rules between the two? I mean,
they're almost the same. If you get down to the nut cutting, so backside tackle scoops the B, backside guard scoops the A, center scoops play side A. Okay, and that's where it kind of gets into the if thens. So if even an inside veer, so inside veer, if there's a play side A, he's got him by himself. All right. So if it's outside veer, he's got a play side A, he's got it by himself. If it's inside veer, he's got a play side A, he's getting double team from the guard. All right. Play side B, we're going to double the play side B. And that's inside veer. And outside veer the way we run it. Now, if you were running outside veer the way you want to read in these little books, you double the C. So if you have a C gap player, if the tackle if he has a B gap and a C gap player, and you're running outside veer, by rule he doubles the C gap with the tight end.
Okay.
Inside veer, if he has a B gap player and a C gap player, he doubles the B.
Okay.
And but yeah, that's on paper, the way the rules are set up, the way Yeoman and all these cats set this up is inside veer, we're going to double the B. Outside veer, we're going to double the C. But very rarely do you if you have an actual C gap player, that means you usually have an open B gap. So you just run inside veer and your tight end veer releases. So
okay, let's go back to that real quick. So if you come out and you're running to the tight end side and your C gap is I'm trying to think how to word this now. The C gap is taken, but the B gap is open. You'll switch to inside veer, or you should, anyways.
You should switch to inside veer.
And really, it turns into the same rule for the tight end. He's still just veer releasing, except for he's got nobody in his gap now.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you can check. I know a lot of schools, they check. They get to the line of scrimmage and they check to inside outside based off of defensive alignment. We haven't quite gotten to that point yet. We could, but but that's what I found. We're gonna run If we got an open B, we're going to run inside veer. If we got an open C, we're going to run outside veer.
Yeah.
Because you got to get the linebacker blocked. So if you have a C gap player and you run outside veer, your tight end, you run into the same problem. Who's blocking the play side backer?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have an open C, then he can go block the play side backer. If you have an open B, then your tackle can go block the play side backer.
Yeah. I'm just working out fronts in my head. So
I'm gonna tell you, when I first started doing this, I just sat here and just drew a bunch of fronts.
Yeah.
And I go back and watch film. Like if I had an under center film from anybody, I just watched it and I was like, okay, this is the front. What would I do to this front?
Yeah.
And
I'm thinking because like like I'll use wing T as an example. Like the default answer in a lot of areas is an under front. You go 5-3 backside. You go 1-3-1-5-9 to the front side.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking, okay, you'd technically run inside veer there. And so the 5 would become the dive key, right?
Right.
And then the 9 is your pitch key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Second person. So you just count it. So the first person, like on outside veer, first person hit up to outside the tight end is your dive key. Then the next person is your pitch key. So the next person outside of that, whether he's D lineman, whether he's a safety, whether he's a backer, whatever, that's your dive key. And then inside veers, just go down one more gap. First person head up to outside the tackle. And that's where it gets kind of funky on the inside veer. If you're running true triple reading everything, is that if you run an inside veer and you have a 5 tech and a 9 tech, that's going to hit fast. So you're going to ride that. You're going to read your 5. And if you pull it, well, that 9 is right there in your grill. So it's going to be a very fast pitch. So it's kind of a tricky front. And that's why I think people run knockdown fronts to a tight end, just so that they can force the pitch really quick.
How much of that under front do you see?
Every now and then. We don't see a lot. Man, we've seen so much stuff. Gosh, dog, we've seen so much stuff. But we don't see it a lot. The little knockdown front. So you got a 1-5-9 to the tight end.
Yeah.
We don't see it, but here's the deal: if we do see it, I'm gonna go 2 tight ends, and I'm gonna run to the other strong side now. I'm gonna run outside veer to the weak side now, and because that front, you're giving me a good outside veer front over there. So you're giving me an inside veer front to the strong side, and you're giving me, if I go 2 tight ends, you're giving me an outside veer front to the weak side. But I still have a 3-man. I have 3-man surface on both sides. So what happens is a lot of people, when we go 2 tight ends, a lot of people check to an eagle front, and they'll go 0, 3, 4-eye, however they line up, and 9s, and then that outside veer eats that up. And so that's what I don't think I was telling someone the other day that's what I do. I throw a lot of formations out there until I find the one that gives me the best outside veer look that I can run. And so I just start throwing formations at you. And then I had a friend of mine at school last year, because we have a depth issue, because our tight ends are usually our starting linebackers too. And so I try to stay out of 2 tight ends as much as I can, just to appease my defense coordinator and my head coach and not be selfish. So 2 tight end is like my last check. And well, they run flex bone. So needless to say, we only had 2 possessions in the first half. And so I couldn't get to 2 tight end, and they were doing some funky stuff. Like they had it schemed up. Now I tip my hat to him, man. He had it schemed up as far as tendencies and whatnot. And when we went 2 tight end, I checked the 2 tight. He went to the most basic front he ran. He went to 0s and 3s, and we stayed in it all night long. And they never adjusted, thank God, because our regular stuff. Man, I'm telling you, dude, it's like he was in the huddle with us. He knew exactly what we were running. I called him the next day and tipped my hat to him, man. He did a great job of scheming us up for that. But all right, so outside veer. Let me see. So, we got 0. So let's go 22. Show you a little end zone here. Clip 15. So we hit this one a little bit wider. This is the kid I said earlier. It's got a little NAIA offer. And you'll see, man, our offensive line is not great. They're good. They're good enough. But see how we pinned number 30 in right there? That's what kind of makes outside Veer go. So we have the open C. All right, and you can see, man, they got people packed in here like sardines right here. And we have a true zero here. Now, I don't know what they do, but this is another thing. When you go to your block and roll, I've got some great clips of this from another school. We'd call it a scoop exchange, where if we get a true zero, the center don't touch him. The center scoops right through the A gap and tries to come right through here, and the guard has to cut the zero. And so, but we're going to double the B, and we're going to down the C and pin this play side backer in there, and that's going to get us 3 or 4 yards. And if this guy runs up and this guy does something stupid, then we got to play. So he pins him down in there, and he's gone. Now so my guard got cussed. My backside guard got cussed out. So my center, he does a good job of getting around him, clears him, but my guard was like, well, he went into the A gap, so he's not mine anymore. And so that guy could have been a problem, but it hits so fast. Very rarely does a nose guard ever create us a problem, unless we try to run trap. Now he becomes a problem with trap. But that's outside Veer, and we're too tight in here. So this was kind of like the front I was telling you about, what we're looking for. We get the double team, and then we're off. Let me see. So I got another clip this season. This is sideline. Clip 6. It's first play of the game, actually.
It makes it easy.
Yep. So we're in unbalanced right here, and they never adjusted. So we got numbers now. Now we got 2 people blocking on play side backer, and so
I know we're calling it outside Veer, but to me it almost looks just like dive Veer instead of just like.
But because that's the way we've started, because we're attacking the B and veering to the C instead of going straight to the C. It looks the same. And this is okay. So this quarterback here, this is what I was talking about. He's a good athlete in his own right. He's not a terrible athlete. He's just not shifty, quick, fast. Like he's just a little downhill runner type kid, and he can't quite get out there. So we just have to modify some things to fit him, and he does a great job of doing what we ask him to do. And you see the end run upfield. They're going to run upfield, man, and even the well-coached teams, they run upfield. The difference is the defensive ends are athletic enough to recover, and so I've seen them run upfield and then stop and dive at the dive back, but we'll still get a few yards. Man, let's put it this way: we played West Monroe High School, and if anybody ever is familiar with Louisiana, West Monroe is a national program, won some national championships, in the early 2000s, and have won a crap ton of state championships, and they're a darling for 5A football in Louisiana. And we played them this year, had no business playing them. It's kind of like, why does ULM play Alabama? But we played them, and we averaged 2.5 yards a carry. We just could not block their linebackers. That's just what it come down to. The defensive line wise, we were able to hold our own, and so that's why I say I don't really worry about linebackers, defensive linemen, because as long as it's relative, we're fine, because it just hits so fast. Inside Veer, this is a high scoring game right here, brother. They run single wing, we run split back. Neither defense showed up. Final score was 50-something to 40, or 50-something in the high 40s. It was a shootout, cuz. So this is inside Veer. I'll run this week. to me, this is the reason I showed this clip. This is a great example of attacking the A gap and veering through the B gap on the other side of the line of scrimmage. So like we mesh, it's a tight mesh. I wish I had the end zone camera quit working this game. So we mesh right here. You can see the quarterback didn't do much. Like he didn't have to go down the line of scrimmage. He basically just opens, and we mesh in the A, and he is chasing that double team. And then when he catches 52, our play side tackle pinned the backer down inside, and he veers through the B. And we got everybody kind of sucked in. We pinned that linebacker down, and now he's just one-on-one with some DBs. And we would love for every play to go 60 yards, but if we're getting 4 or 5 yards of carry, that's good enough for me. When you're trying to win ball games.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just veers through there and does his thing. So that's inside Veer. Let me show you my quarterback from last year as far as what you can do in the quarterback run game. This guy here, like I said, this one's a pitcher, and I'll show you. Matter of fact, I got this. Let me see. I got clip 77 right there. Okay, so this is inside Veer again. That's what I'm talking about. This dude refused to go down, man. And so scheme got him 3, and then him just wanting to get in the end zone got him the other 5. And you can't coach that. That's just heart and desire and trying to win a district championship. But really good dive back there. All right. So let's look at a pitch real quick. So let's go to clip 100.
So while you're pulling that up, so like when you teach inside and outside Veer, they just need to know the number differences to know how to block differently. You don't teach us 2 separate plays, essentially.
Yep. It is 24 dive and 26 dive, 33 dive and 35 dive.
Okay.
An option. And so, or Veer. I call Veer if I want a true triple read. And then I call, we run it a couple different ways, but I'll call dive to hand the dive. I'll call Veer to read it. I call option to do like a play action, just fake it. And then we run option. And then I call read, where the quarterback has I love running this inside Veer to a 5 tech. We'll call it 33 read, where we run inside Veer dive, but he reads that 5 tech. And so it's a give pull. He does not have a pitch option. It's just give pull. And so, but again, that's all in your quarterback. This is a first year starter for us. So I did a lot of calling. Next year we'll get, we'll let him read a little bit more. But here's option. Now this, let me show you how I highlighted this play. So he runs mesh, he meshes, 14 takes the dive, and he pitches right off of 6. And he does a good job right there and moves the chains. Actually, I think gets us the first down. Yep. All right. And so everything's blocked the same. Just a good pitch, man. So let me go to the play before, though. All right. He got kind of fussed at right here because I called option and I said, bro, pitch the dang ball. He was scared to pitch. He didn't want to, because we had some bad pitch issues coming into this game. So his confidence was broken. And so this number 6 kind of got him caught in the middle. But like I told him, I said, man, if you pitch it, he can't tackle 6. Like 6 cannot tackle the running back. And so just pitch the ball. And then from that moment on, he pitched it because I forced him to. And then, dude, he had this was week 8. And man, the next 4 weeks, dude, he pitched some dimes, son. And so my favorite pitch of the year came in this game, actually. And I was telling you earlier how I think he does a good job of kind of baiting the defense so that he can pitch. He doesn't really want to run the ball. Not that he doesn't want to run it. He just would rather hit the running backs get it. And so he does a good job right here of making everybody suck in, and then he pitches at the last second. He put the Ronnie Bass, Sunshine.
I talked to somebody today, like if you look at like three of the most, I can't remember what the third one is, but like three of the most famous movies of all time are all split back Veer football movies. Remember the Titans and We Are Marshall are both split back Veer.
You know, if you watch Friday Night Lights, the movie, not show, but the movie, if you watch some of them movie highlights from the movie, they're in split back.
Yeah.
They're in split back. I mean, that's not an X's and O's deal. They don't really make it up, but they're in split back. And then if you go back and read the book, they were actually a wing T team, and Booby played fullback. But yeah, so he pulls it, and so it does. So here's a footwork deal. Okay, so when we run option, or when we run veer, anything that he could possibly pull the dive, all right, is when he pulls it, I make him belly, just in case he makes the wrong read and the defensive end does not take the run back. He when he pulls it, he kind of bellies a little bit so they can create a little bit of space. So let me see. So he meshes here, and if you look, he just kind of takes a little step back just to create a little bit of room. Some people teach to mesh into the line of scrimmage and ride it and then hit it more at a 45-degree angle off here, and that just doesn't work for us. So we mesh in the backfield, and if we pull it, I just make him belly it a little bit. And it does two things. The biggest problem I've run into with split back, and I talk to eye people, and this is why they went to the eye, or so they say. Pitch relationship is really tough because it's not downhill, because they're on lateral, so they're going side to side, and they're trying to get outside, and they're trying to kind of get downhill to pitch, and it's pitch relationship. You got to really work pitch relationship. So I've learned that if we belly it a little bit, it gives that pitch back a little bit more time to get there. Now, did not do that with my previous quarterback. So let's go to you want to say something pretty?
Mm-hmm.
First play of the game. Counter pass.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing, and I've talked about that with a couple guys. It's funny that the offense that has three eligible receivers near the line of scrimmage historically has a better passing attack than the flex bone, who has four. Like, if you watch, there's a thing on Billy Yeoman on YouTube, like it's really short, and it mentions like his first game he won running the split back veer, like the whole last 8 of the last 10 plays were all passes.
Mm-hmm.
Like historically you've been able to throw out of it.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, you're going to get one-on-one. You're going to get one-on-one. So if you got two receivers that are dudes, Gina, the school that I said got beat in the semifinals this past year, they had a receiver, and he played receiver for them now. He went to LSU and had a really good career at LSU. Ended up having he was a full-time starter his last 2 years. He didn't jump in the portal. He stayed there and paid his dues and worked his tail off. And dude, you talking about a team that runs split back veer, and you've got a receiver that is an SEC commit. What are you going to do? You're going to bracket him and take one person out of the box, And so if you've got some actual receivers, like some guys that can go, oh man, they're going to love it. They're one-on-one all the time. Look at this space right here. I mean, you got space throwing now routes. You can do so much stuff, because where's this guy looking? He's playing the run. Look at the safety. He's down here now. We're in a two tight end. We're in a wing set right here, but yeah. So this is a quarterback keeper. So he went pitching the ball, bro. He pulled that dive to do his thing, man. And he was a cat now. He plays center field for me. He's signed with a little NAI school, playing baseball. He's a really good athlete. Great kid. Been playing quarterback since like third grade. So he was destined to be this guy, I guess. Did a great job, man. Let's see. So got some end zone right here. Clip 18. See how he hits it? He hit it more wide because he could really get out there. And so he hit it running. So we actually meshed in the C gap. And what it is, it's a continuous movement for the quarterback. And it really sucks at it. So you talking about hitting fast, man. That defensive end has to make a decision. And look at the pitch back. He knows he ain't pitching the ball. So he gone, man. And watch what he does. This is cool. You talking about culture and buying in and wanting to win ball games. Watch 8. Boom. It's the big block as we're going in the end zone. And there's his dad. His dad's our athletic director. That was a really sweet moment for the kids there. But that's that. If you got a really good guy at quarterback, you can ride your dives out so that it makes him more effective in the Q run game of Veer. If he's more of a pitcher, and like I said, I feel like I'm down in my current. I love my current quarterback. He is a great kid. He runs the offense probably the way it was intended to be run. And really good passer. And but they're just two different kids. But I don't think I could have any two extremes here. So I got a really, really good athlete here, and then my other kid, he's just a good quarterback, more complete quarterback. He's twice as good as a passer as this one, and a way better pitcher. Way better. This kid here, if he pitches it, if he pitches with, he's left-handed. If he pitches with his right, he might shot put it over the sideline. But he did a good job. To
be honest, I'd be more interested to see the current year quarterback, just so I can see what the more realistic meshes look like.
The normal kid. Yeah.
Because not everybody gets the center field NIA kid who's going to let
me see here. Trying to find some end zone from this year. All right, so this is West Monroe. This is West Monroe freaking high school. You're not going to get any better than this. Like, they're a national program. All right, so now preface all this again. Why does Alabama play a Sunbelt school? That's kind of what's going on here for us. So yeah, I'm not gonna say it, but that's what I'm saying. So you can see, I think this is a great job. So I told my backs, because this game, we knew what this game was. We're gonna go in there and compete, we're gonna fight, we're gonna get better, we're gonna have fun, but we're gonna stay safe, we're gonna protect ourselves. So I put our backs at 3 yards so they couldn't take a shot. And so we tightened everything down a little bit to protect them. So I didn't want them running in the wide open field and just getting beyond. I was okay with them slanting to the line of scrimmage but not getting square contact. So you can look right here. All right. You see how there's what I was talking about, how their feet are on the quarterback's heels.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our standard width for them. Their heels are at 3 yards. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, their heels are at 3. All right. So this is inside Veer and outside Veer. This is all we pretty much ran this game. So now the result is not going to be there, but you can see everything. So a little 2 yards here. That's outside Veer. Of course, we're just getting whipped. That's a great. To me, this is a great of the Veer jump cut deal. Now this kid's a freshman, number 1. And when I say we veer, I actually, when we rep this in endos, I have a dummy set up, and they attack the dummy, and then when they get to the dummy, they jump cut to another dummy. if that makes sense. If you can see that in your head. And so, like I said, I'm not doing anything super creative here. Just trying to drill some basic stuff. But
that okay. Just so I'm looking at these right. That's just inside Veer, right?
What's my tight end do? Nope, this is outside Veer.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I see it now. Okay. Yeah, I was trying to look at the path of the running back.
Yeah. Now this kid's a freshman, so he is he doesn't do everything perfect yet.
Yeah.
But you can see it. He meshes in the B, the mesh points in the B, and then he veers through the C. All right, so this is inside Veer, I think. No, outside Veer. Don't know why that starred. Somebody got a highlight in here somewhere.
Well, I mean, highlight is a subjective term.
Yeah.
You know that's with high school kids. I mean, you know as I do. This is just when you're playing that team. That's
This is what's happening. Now we had 2 first downs in the first 2 drives, and we threw counter pass, and I'll show it to you while I'm here. You can see how tight our backs are and how fast it hits. You know. We actually went 3 tight end this game. Because that's a really good formation to use, is to go unbalanced, put your 2 tight ends on the same side, and it's a cheap unbalance, and you get to keep your 2-man surface on the other side. So it does the changes for them. It's a really cheap unbalance.
Nice stadium though.
Dude, it's unreal. Unreal. This is counter pass. Boop. See, like I said, this is what my quarterback does well right here. I mean, he delivers a good ball. No pressure, just boop, drops right on in, moves chains. Yeah, but that's West Monroe. Trying to think of. I'll tell you what I'll do. Let's go to our playoff game, so you'll get an idea. This game was 26-22 as the final score. We won on a on the defense on the field. They got the ball like on a 30, drove it 70 yards themselves, and we had a 4th and goal from the 5 stand to win the game.
Those are fun. I like my year at Westland. Our head coach graduated from Delaware, so we played Delaware, and we won at the very end of the game. They had 4 plays from inside the 5, didn't score, and we won as time expired because of they didn't score. It's a great.
You talking about complimentary football? This was a great game. This is a first round game, so it's going to be 2 even teams. We're a 17 seed and they're a 16 seed, so we're about as even as it gets. There's a slight PowerPoint difference. And we go down there, man. They're down in Baton Rouge area, about a 3-hour drive for us. And we go down there and they're running Kenny Simpson's shotgun tee, gun tee. That's what they run. And we're split back and it goes back and forth, and we're down 2 scores going to the 4th quarter, and we go like on a 70-yard drive score, and then I think we onside kicked or they fumbled the kick or something happened on the kickoff return, and then we score again, take the lead, and then they get the ball back with like 6 minutes to go, and they march it all the way downfield, bro. We're sitting there panicking, you know, offensive coaches. I'm like, God, just give me the ball. Like, just give me the ball. We can score, you know. And then we had the goal line stand to win the game with 20 seconds left. We had to take the knee, so it was pretty cool. But that's what I'll do. I'll just go play by play on this first drive right here. And give you I don't want anybody to think I'm just showing like good plays. Like, I'll show you the first drive. This is I would say a normal drive for us.
Okay,
Almost all.
you're coaching against me, who just loves weird onside kicks. Towards the end of the year, I had 3 kickers on the field at the same time, so I could kick any direction. It was fun. Yeah, we got a couple of them too.
All right, so first play run G lead. My freshman running back does not block a soul. Probably would have been a house call if he'd have blocked his linebacker right here.
Why are your running backs in 2 points and not 3-point stances?
Okay, so we change snap count based off play. And so G lead is a play that we run on set because it's an off tackle run for our running back. So I think it's easier for them to move. That's one less because they're not getting out of the 3-point stance. So they're running from 2-point stance, and my linemen like pulling from a 2-point stance.
Okay.
So their hands go on the ground on set. So we run plays on first down. We run plays on set. We run plays on one is our default, and then we have plays where we run it on 2, like it's built in. Like when we run this play, we're running it on 2, and so that's just part of our offense. That's another thing, man. Snap counts are becoming your friend. Jumping people off sides, the roll and start. We get flagged for it from time to time, but you want to watch a roll and start, watch Acadiana High School. Them son of guns, they're rolling, brother. There ain't no pause, and they're hands on the line of scrimmage. So first down, we can still get 3 yards on my box. All right, so we get outside Veer. He fights, gets us 2 or 3 yards here. But you see, it's not a wide mesh here. We're meshing right here in the B, and he just chases it. And when he gets to the double team, when he catches 77, basically, he kind of jump cuts and gets in there. So it's third.
I didn't do a really good job there washing stuff down.
This kid here, man, we're gonna miss him. He's gone after this year, man. Phenomenal. He came here as a running back, and he was that fullback type kid, and because most kids were like, he wanted to run the ball, and I was like, man, you want to play tight end? He goes, Coach, I want to do whatever it takes to win. I'll play tight end. I don't care. And so he started playing our extra tight end as a sophomore, and then took over as a full-time starter. Phenomenal, man. Very selfless kid.
Yeah.
All these kids are selfless. 77. He's not our starting tackle. We had a situation where he's normally a linebacker. He also was a running back. I can't make this up. He was a running back his freshman year for us. And he's really our starting linebacker, but we got kind of thin on depth. And so his number is actually 20, 24. And so he's having to wear 77 for this game. Selfless, man. That's part of the culture of it. So we move the sticks. Looks like inside Veer based off of there. And see the Veer, the jump cut Veer thing kind of didn't work for us right here, but we're not perfect, man. This is unbalanced.
We still got 2 yards? I mean, it's not like it's a bad. It's like if your plays 2 yards, that's
what I love. We don't have negative plays. The only time we have a negative play is if we have a bad pitch, and so we're very efficient. We're going to make the defense has to defend us. There's no incomplete pass that's going to bail you out, if you know what I'm saying. Like you're going to get us for 4 plays because pretty much once we cross that 40-yard line ish, we're in 4-down territory. So you got for 60 yards, you got to defend 4 plays, and of those 4 plays, almost none of them are going to be negative. And so if we're really getting some yardage, now we can throw the ball. We feel comfortable throwing. Okay, well, now you got to defend another element.
Well, that's statistically why the NFL runs duos, because it's rarely a negative play. It's usually 0 or more.
Yep. See, we jumped him right here. See, so this is a great example. First down, it looked like we got 2, but I guess we didn't. So we're 2nd and 10. So we just go on 2. Boom, we get our 5 yards. now we're 2nd and medium, And I can't tell you how many games we've won on jumping the defense in crucial moments. It's part of our playbook. All right. So, I was talking about how I give my linemen, I had an older line, so I give them some lenience. They got in the huddle and they noticed that their D line wasn't getting their hand in the ground until our kids put their hand in the ground. So we started running dive on set and first sound. They did that in the huddle on their own, and it's just a trust factor. But see, we got them, so we're hitting the quickness of dive, and we're not, and the D lineman is really not. They're not balanced. And so you can sneak stuff in there, man. You use snap count to your advantage. We build our plays in. We have certain plays that have certain snap counts. And so run dive. Wish I could see which dive that was. I'm thinking inside Veer because the tight ends on this side, we weren't too tight end until the second half of this game. So we run inside Veer. This school had two D linemen. These two defensive linemen right here were some dudes, man. One of them was their pulling guard and on offense, and the other one was their what's it called, quick guard, strong guard, or whatever. That's what the other one was. He was a down blocking machine. Yep. Inside Veer. See, they were giving us the open B. Touchdown. See why he's not, he don't like keeping it. He can't stick his foot in the ground and go. Like, he just doesn't have that go. And it's just, but he's like, I said, why didn't you pitch? Coach, I thought I could break the goal line. I said, that's all that matters, buddy. Got our 2 points. That's another thing, man. We hardly ever kick extra points. We're a 2-point team. And so our theory is if, the 50%, 100% deal. And then biggest thing is if we can get 2 points and you can't, then we're going to score an extra touchdown. It starts widening that gap out and puts pressure. And second half, man, if we get a 2-score lead, we feel really good. Really, really good. Because we're going to take that ball away. So, but man, what else, man? I think I've shown you the good, the bad. I actually I've never done that before. I just went through a drive, man. And that drive is a microcosm of what we do. Now we run more count. We run, like, in the second half of this game, we ran counter and G lead because those ends they were so typically first half we're gonna run a lot of dive and make those ends start crashing down. Let the defense line coach cuss some kids out and let them start taking dive. Well, when they start squeezing down, we'll start running off tackle and running counter and G lead. And so that's kind of, and we'll run sweep around them too. So that's kind of what we do, man. We don't hide what we are. And
can you tell me some of your counter from the second half? I'm just curious what that kind of, like, a little more in.
Yeah, let me see if I can find. I don't have it marked. I know what I got it marked in this game because I was showing my freshman running back how to run counter. So just the next motion, the freshman back didn't do a good job of doing his faking part, but you get the X in the backfield, you get GT counter. And what I teach him, my backs, is we're always looking for the jump cut. So they're supposed to attack the defensive end and jump cut in. He just jump cutted really early here because he saw it. So yeah. That's GT, baby. And then I run another one. We didn't run it very much. So, like, the other counter we would run, instead of him Xing, he runs toss. And then the quarterback just turns, and then running back does the same thing. So we call that counter. and this is cross. So when the X is cross, and then the counter is the fake toss.
Okay.
So,
do you ever flip your backs?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Why? It depends. Sometimes because we just want to run right because they got a dude on the left side, so we just want to run right, and our back gets tired, so we have a flip call. We just flip them. Sometimes it's because I want to get a specific person the ball. Like this year with the freshman senior combo, when the game was kind of on the line type deal, we would give the ball to 20. And the freshman, he was good at some things. Like he was really good at getting the ball in space. Like he was. If we wanted to pitch it to somebody, sometimes I'd flip it to pitch it to him. And because Didi was such a good dive back, he would suck that defensive end a lot, and so it'd make everything flow better. But yeah, we flip them. There's no rhyme or reason other than I want to run a certain direction with a certain kid, or I want to run a certain direction with a certain kid based on a certain play. So that's just kind of, or we just want to rest a kid because we have to run because for whatever reason, the defense is not lining up to unbalance to the right side. And we're just going to keep running right until they adjust. And so we got to rest the back a little bit. So, but yeah, we flip them.
Okay. All right, no, I think that's about it. So, coaches, I know he's got a Twitter account he doesn't really use. So follow him on Twitter. I know he's on Facebook. I know he's in the Split Back Veer group on Facebook. If you don't know if there's a Split Back Veer group on Facebook, there's a Split Back Veer group on Facebook. If you just type in Split Back Veer, it will pop up. And it's actually fairly active, surprisingly. Like you wouldn't think it would be, but it's a fairly active.
It's gotten kind of stale as of late. Funny story because the playoff game last year, the head coach of that school was part of that group. so I had to go in there and be like, oh snap, I had to cut some stuff out and just from a advantage standpoint. And so, but yeah, we were really active when we first started. That page is a funny story, but I'll just save it because it's kind of a long one. But
go ahead, if you want to, go ahead.
Okay, so I want to learn split back. I was talking to a guy that knew split back, and he said, "I'm gonna start a Facebook page." We were both partaking in some activities, and a few beers into it, next thing I know, I'm an admin of a Facebook page. The whole goal was just to add the local people, like the state of Louisiana split back people, just to kind of get us a forum. And then next thing I know, we got 3,000 people, and I'm like, what in the hell just happened? And so we just kind of started rolling with it a little bit, and it's fun. And what I do is I meet coaches, and I do like private little Zoom calls with people. I'm not gonna say all the time. I'm not that popular, but I'm a very open book when it comes to split back, and because there's not a lot of resources on it, it's such a prehistoric offense. I guess they only, I mean, other than Pop Warner stuff, we just it's old, so it's hard to find stuff. And so I was that guy a couple of years ago, and we and I was able to piece this stuff together with some books and some friends and picking brains. And so I feel like I owe that to the community of coaches that, I had to beg and borrow, steal, and learn on my own. If I can help someone, I want to help someone. So I'm very open about it. As my head coach says, it's not a little too open about it, but I love split back, man. I can talk about it all day.
Well, if again, to your point, like it's a very Louisiana thing for some reason. The last college that really ran it heavily was Carson Newman, and that died out. I mean, they just hired a Navy guy, so they might run a little bit more again. Because Navy has kind of ran some split back stuff over the years. I mean, it's not like their base, but like I know they ran a couple sets out of it this year. But yeah, to your point, like it's Louisiana and then a couple high schools here and there throughout the country. It's got a little pocket in northern Michigan. I know that.
Yep.
Like I've talked to, like, there's the Michigan guy that did the Chief Pinskin stuff. I was talking to another guy the other night who I think you've talked to too. who's switching from the air raid to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you probably know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'm actually supposed to do a Zoom call with him over break. As far as meet with his coaches, and that's another thing is that if you want to run split back, you got to be all in. There can't be no doubt because your kids are going to sense it, and you have to have all your coaches have to be all in on it. And the most important coach to your offense is going to be your offensive line coach. And that's what I like about the offense because, if I ever get an opportunity to become a head coach again and I end up at some little small school where I got limited coaching staff, I feel very, very, very confident I can operate this offense and coach it at a highly competitive level with me and just somebody. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that'll just do what I ask them to do type deal. I feel very confident that you can coach split back with two people. And
I don't think there's a lot like O-line wise. It doesn't seem like there's a lot with it. Like, I mean, it's down blocks, double teams, and essentially scooping / cutting. I mean, it's
rule based. The biggest thing is your adjustments. You have to be able, because I'm telling you, you're not going to be able to say, all right, this team's a 4-2-5 team and then practice 4-2-5 all week. Like Mondays, we practice against an even front. And then Tuesdays, we practice against an odd front. And then Wednesdays, we practice against a combination of the fronts. And we just rely on rules. And then the first drive, we figure out what they're running. And then, so you have to adjust a little bit. Like this year's O-line is going to be really young. And so I'll have to be more involved with coaching. The line I had this past year was older. The only one that didn't come back that wasn't a returner was my center. The other four were returning. And so they knew it and they knew the adjustments. And so I didn't have to really help as much per se. They just kind of rolled with it. They knew what to do. You got to learn your rules and you got to learn your steps, your blocks. And then once we have a player that he's a coach now and he played in it. And he told me that once he learned the rules, he understood everything. He said, but when he learned the footwork to what's the best way to make this actual block itself, like it's knowing what to do and knowing how to do it is two different things. And he said once he really understood the offense conceptually and understood the proper footwork to actually getting the block done, he said that's when everything just started becoming very easy for him. And so it's rule based, and I know a lot of people say that this is 100% rule, but there's nothing a defense can throw at you that you don't have a rule for. Now, if they got better Jimmys and Joes, like we ran to a school, they went on to win the state championship. The school that Devontae Smith came from, we gave them hell for half because like we got inside the red zone 3 times in the first half. She couldn't punch it in 21. And we went in halftime down 12-0. And they come out in the second half with their hair on fire, and they just put everybody in the gap. They put 6 down linemen, and they filled every dang gap. And we at that point we were getting out athleted. We weren't getting out schemed. And they beat us. Fast forward 2 years later, they lost to an I team that runs a lot of inside and outside Veer stuff, but they had the dudes to mash them, and they did the exact same thing. They lined up, they covered every offensive lineman, and they stacked the backers and just kind of create chaos. But they had linemen that could actually move their D linemen, and they gashed them. They popped them for 50 points. And so there's nothing the defense can do to you from a scheme standpoint that you can't handle. Now, talent, that's a whole different animal. But scheme wise,
but the talent disparity doesn't matter what offense you're running at that point if it's that wide,
right? And that's what we like about it is that we feel like, okay, so let's say we're a C level talent. That's what, if you want to give us a grade, let's say we're a C. Okay, we can play with B's because of the scheme, and we can beat B's, and we can compete with A's. And now you get into the West Monroes of the world where they're an A from a whole different world. But schools relative to us, we can compete with them if they're better. Even if they're better than us, we can make the game respectable. If that clock's going to run, and like I said, there ain't no incomplete pass. We don't throw the ball enough. We throw the ball, I don't know, probably threw it 30 times this year, and over 12 games. And so we don't throw the ball much, and And so there's not an incomplete pass in there. And when we do pass, it's usually either it's incomplete or it's a 60-yard bomb. There's very little. We don't dink and dunk when it comes to the passing game. He's gonna either be running wide open and we catch it, or he's gonna be covered and we don't catch it. So, but like we use things, man. Like we use option. If you want to bring it into the spread world, how would you use the bubble screen? Well, that's where option comes in for us. We just attack the perimeter. We get the ball to the edge fast. That's how we use toss, getting the ball to the edge fast. We have some screens and we have some receiver screens, have some running back screens. We still do other stuff, but this is who we are right here. You're going to spend all week trying to stop this, and then you're not going to have time to work on the other stuff. And that's usually where we get teams, is in the second half. We get them with plays that they don't work on as much. So because you spend all week defending dive and an option and whatnot, assignment football.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna continue to talk to you after we hit stop record. So, coaches, like, share, subscribe, all that crap. Check out our sponsor, Coachpad. Follow them on Twitter. Check out the Splitback Facebook group. It's not hard. Type in Splitback Veer, it pops up. There's 3,900-ish people on there. So if you actually want to learn about Splitback Veer, go on there. Otherwise, that's another episode of the Gap Down Backer podcast.